up, step up and get it. Lace up, face up, I'm here to win it. It's for my city, and the team coming with me. Headed for the championship, even if the road is long. Legends pave the way for us. Nothing in this world can take it from us. Don't underestimate our generation when you see us coming for ya. And when you knock me down, I'm getting back up. Cause when I step on the floor, you know your time's up. I'm on my way. Detroit basketball.
What up, though, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the King and Do Show. We hope everybody is having a chill Saturday night. Good weekend so far. King, last few videos, bro, you were at the hospital being a negligent father, shooting Piston recap videos while your son, baby boy, was on his way into this world. No, seriously, you were preoccupied the last few episodes. You want to fill everybody in on what's going on and how things are going for you right now?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I have plenty of time to do so. 2-day labor. But, you know, Sonny Boy is definitely here, healthy and well. We're all home. Everything is secure. So I appreciate all the support, especially from everyone that's been in the comments and sending us messages on social media. But yeah, we're ready to go, man. We're ready to go.
Yeah, you a true fan, bro. Like, you weren't going to let nothing stop that show for sure.
No.
But, you know, healthy that, you know, baby boy is here, healthy, mommy's here, great, all that. So, yeah, man. So we definitely have a great show for you guys tonight, man. Shout out to everybody who's here. We see you guys already in the chat. Showing love, showing out as you always do. So we appreciate you. And as always, we're going to get to as many comments as we possibly can. But if we miss you and you want us to respond to something that we missed, repost it, put it in caps, super chat, whatever you want to do. Y'all know the deal. And we'll be sure to get to as many of you guys as possible. So tonight is the first episode, King, since October of last year that we don't have any Pistons basketball to look forward to for a while. For those who don't know, the season came to an end Thursday night against the Knicks, losing in the first round series 4-2. So tonight we are going to reflect on the Pistons season, historical season at that, one of the biggest turnarounds in history. So, King, just talking about this season, bro. What are your initial thoughts, as we always like to talk about, when you look at the totality now of the season, now that it's complete and we are now officially in our offseason?
First word for me is, you know, overachieved. You know, we kind of talked about our numbers where it was 35 or 40 wins. A lot of people thought that was wild, but they end up surpassing both.
Yeah.
And getting themselves into the playoffs and playing a really, really good series against the Knicks. So, I mean, success is another word that you can look at as far as getting the development that the guys needed, getting to the postseason and playing in the postseason. So, yeah, either one of those two words come to mind.
Yeah, I like those, bro. I know it ended in a disappointing fashion for all of us. You know, the heartbreaking finishes to the games against the Knicks, you know, very controversial, some of those, right? After having leads going into the fourth quarter, just the late game execution not being there. All those things were hard to kind of watch, kind of unravel and unfold. We expected it, but it's still kind of hard to watch it, right? When you know the team is good enough. But at least for me, when the dust settles, you know, and that sting that you have that of elimination kind of fades away a little bit, you start to put things in perspective a little bit. And so I've kind of had a few days to do that. And for me, I think my initial thought is that, and it's kind of what you already mentioned, but for the Pistons to take the next 6 games without Jaden Ivey for the entire 2025 calendar year, without Isaiah Stewart for pretty much all of, except for one playoff game, a lot of guys, you know, getting their first taste of playoff experience. The Pistons really have accomplished more. They couldn't have accomplished more than they accomplished this season. Like you said, they overachieved. They squeezed, I think, almost as much out of that orange as they could have this year, given who was available, given the youth, the lack of experience as a group, all those things going into it. And so I think they pretty much hit their ceiling for what they could have really expected considering the circumstance. So that's just my take.
Yeah.
But, you know, I definitely think that as a whole, it's definitely a win of a season. Definitely. I mean, when you look at the team that we have available to us, look at guys who we mentioned didn't get the chance to play this year. just look at the team, man. But this is a very solid basketball team. And, you know, Trajan Langdon definitely has cooked with a lot of his moves that he made this year. So when you look ahead to next season, I think it's only a net positive. There's nothing negative that we can take away. And just kind of talk about how things have really been above expectations for us, at least for me. So I think you feel the same way. And I think you guys in the chat feel the same way as well. So it's good to see that we all kind of feel the same way. But when you talk about that, we gotta, for me, bro, like when you talk about looking ahead to next season, because as great as we played this year, we know that there's still some things we need to improve. There's still some holes in this team. There's still some things that we need to improve as far as our roster. So is there anything for you that stands out that the Pistons need to do this offseason? Anything that you have your eye on, any guys you have your eye on? Just kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Obviously some of the obvious names, Nas Reed, Devin Booker, some of those names you're going to see on social media and media because they do make sense. We need the scoring punch from a guy like Booker. We need the scoring punch and the defense from a guy like Nas Reed. So some of the most popular names you're going to see on social media, and that's fine. For me personally, just bring somebody in here that's going to contribute and fill that gap. You know, you needed another scorer out there on the court that can go and get his own bucket. That doesn't have to be, you know, set up. So
right.
Ivy was one of those guys, obviously, and he, you know, missed the season for some unplanned circumstances. Let's just say that. If you bring a big name in here as a starter, say for instance, it is a Devin Booker, and then you do have an Ivy and a guy that, you know, coming back from a broken leg, you may bring him off the bench to start out. Like I said, Devin Booker is also a guy that's capable to be slid to the third spot if you have to. So, like I said, there's things that Langdon can do to change the tone to this team and get them ready to really contend. This year was to get there and get the experience, but to get ready to really contend next year, the Pistons have some money, and I think they're gonna, you know, use that money in the right place. I don't think we're just going to, you know, get thirsty and chase after the biggest name out there on the market like a lot of fans are going to expect. So we'll see.
Yeah. William McGregor says, Deuce and King, what up? William, appreciate you as always. Pistons did their thing. The Tigers are playing some ball right now, bro. I think they're the first team in the AL to 20 wins this year. So, yeah, definitely get a stretch 4 and heal Ivy. Yeah, we're going to get to that for sure, bro. As far as we're going to take a look at some guys who may be available. Definitely, you know, for Jaden, probably number one, not that the season is over. There is no pressure to try to rush back. Same thing with Isaiah Stewart. We still don't know the severity of his injury, but from what we saw him missing 5 out of 6 games, it must have been a lot more serious than we initially thought. I think because he was able to keep playing in the game initially, had me thinking that it wasn't that bad. But once, you know, he came out, we saw he wasn't coming back. And so, yeah, the Pistons definitely have some options. For me, bro, it's just one priority as far as this offseason. And it should be the same thing as last offseason. Just continue to build around Cade Cunningham properly. That's literally it for me. We saw with just one offseason, you know, with a proper, adequate roster, you know, and coaching, what the potential could be for this team. And now with another offseason for Trajan Langdon, now he can really evaluate what he has. And what he can really take a look at what he needs to do now as far as continuing to build that championship roster around Cade. You know, I think this year he didn't really have any time to go off of as far as evaluation. Like he was putting a roster together and evaluating at the same time while hoping he still wins games. It just happened to work out that it did. It worked out that way. A lot of time when you're coming to this kind of season, it's not really going to be a very successful season because you're looking at what you have. You're trying to evaluate what you have. He brought guys in, evaluated them, had the chance to, and we got a chance to still win. So that's the best case scenario. But now he has watched this team for a full season. He's seen how the young guys perform under pressure. He's seen how the vets have really contributed to this team to a capacity. So now this is going to be evaluation time. This is going to be decision time for him now at this point, looking back at the data that he has and being able to see how he can make this roster better. So I think that is one positive to look forward to as well. I want to see how he does when it comes to that because he's made great decisions up to this point. All the acquisitions he's made, the cap he's created, the picks he's created out of thin air, like all these different things. he hasn't really missed so far. So that's very encouraging when we look forward to the offseason. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's after the evaluation process, you always have, well, when you're successful after that process,
Yeah.
it's always some tough decisions coming. You know what I'm saying? Because you have those guys in Beasley and Schroeder on the roster too. You gotta, see what you decide to do with that situation. So,
Yeah.
Langdon's in a pretty. He's not in a tough spot, but he has a tough job to do this summer. In a good way, in a really good way, and got to attest to the fact that he was left in a really, really good situation walking in here. So, like I said, it's all on the up and up for us Pistons fans, right? Because you can probably only get better from the situation we just had this season. So, our next time in the playoffs most definitely is going to be a lot more than just making some noise if we add the right players this offseason. So everything's in Langdon's hands. Bickerstaff's going to get the best out of whoever we bring here. And, you want to see K have the pieces put around him so he can finally emerge into that superstar position where he's not getting double and triple team constantly. So,
yep. It's funny you said that because Rasheed Wallace was just on All the Smoke when he was here in Michigan. Shout out to StockX. But he was asked about, what his message would be to current Pistons fans. And he just said, stick with him. You stuck with him this far, continue to stick with him. But now the expectations change. You had your taste of being able to get to the playoffs. Now it's time to get to the next level, make that next step, show progression from last year. So I think that was a very good message, because we all know, we got to the playoffs first time in a long time, all these different records you broke, how many years it's been, 17 years, 08, all this stuff. But now it's time to get to another level. It's time to get to another gear. So, and getting back to, I thought about this this past week, bro. When you think about, and this just goes back to the point of make sure you build around Kate. When you think about the roster construction, you think about what Kate has had to work with. And when you look at his draft class, right? Think back to the 2021 draft class as a whole. We know Kate went first. And I looked this up. Kate went first, obviously. Jalen Green 2, Evan Mobley 3, Scotty Barnes 4, Jalen Suggs 5, Josh Giddey 6, Kuminga 7, Franz Wagner 8, Davion Mitchell 9, Zaire Williams 10, right? Cade is the only guy among the top 10 of his class to have never played with an all-star.
Yep.
That's insane when you think about it. Not saying he hasn't had good players on his team, but his levels to it. All those guys have at one point played with at least one all-star. Every single one of them. He's the only one. And he's had as much, if not more, success in the playoffs than most of those guys. Without it. That's crazy to me.
I don't mean to cut you off. It just shows what, if the pieces fit right, you know what I'm saying, it don't matter if you got all-star or not. Because we all know Tobias Harris's entire career been a career fringe all-star, you know what I'm saying? And you got guys like Beasley on this roster too. So if the pieces fit, that's what's more important.
Exactly.
The all-star and all the labels that the NBA give you just to increase marketing, man, is cute. But at the end of the day, does your team fit together? The components work together so you can continue to build the bridge to get yourself to the finals.
And that's what takes me to my next point. Before we get there, I want to shout out Baldwin. Baldwin says, "What up, though, fellas? Keep crushing the content. Appreciate you, Baldwin, as always. Give us a thought if you want us to talk about something in particular. We appreciate the chat, but make sure you give us something we can talk about so we can talk back to you. Appreciate you, Baldwin. With that said, because you kind of took me to my next point. Me saying that doesn't mean that I think the Pistons should sell the farm for another star. I still believe that some of these guys on this roster, potentially in Jaden, Asar, JD,
Shakur.
You can make an argument for each of those guys being the Robin to Cade's Batman, right? For me, it's Jaden. You think about Shai Gilgeous and Jalen Williams, D. Mitch and Darius Garland, like the backcourt, powerhouse. And I think that's what we have here in our backcourt. But you can make a case for any of those guys as far as being the second guy or being an all-star. So they've all taken jumps under Coach Bickerstaff this year. And I think next year they're going to take more. And I think that could possibly push one of these guys into all-star territory. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's part of the reason, I said what I said, because a lot of fans are going to be pushing for these huge names. They want to sell a farm. They're going to play NBA 2K in real life. That's what they're going to do. For us, you have Ivy, who was on the trajectory way up. He was heading up very, very fast this season with the shackles off of him finally.
Yep.
Shooting a crazy amount from three-point land, too, on attempts per game as far as his percentage. So, like I said, we definitely got the guy right there on our bench. But if you want to go and get a veteran, too, that's fine. It's only going to help your team more. So, like I said, it's up to Trajan Langdon. I don't think he's in that mindset of selling the farm to go and get some huge name, obviously. But for what it's worth, man, we have a punch right there sitting on our bench. We just need to get to next season and give him that opportunity over the summer to get healthy and work, because we know that's what Ivy's going to do. He's going to continue to improve. Ivy's definitely numero uno when it comes to my list to what punch we need to add for next season.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot of names in the chat too. We're going to get to those guys. We're going to get to the offseason outlook and talk about who could potentially be on the Pistons radar for sure. But I agree with you, bro. Yeah, man, like I've said for months now, bro. And it's still crazy that it never happened at all this year. Like the point that I said it was still a possibility. I was hoping for it, but it just didn't happen that way. But I've been saying this since January, and it's good to see Pistons Twitter starting to kind of get hip to it now, but we've yet to see the projected day one starting five play one game together. These five guys have not played one game, did not play one game at all together as a starting unit. It doesn't seem like it's the case, but it really is. It was just a very small overlap. It was a very thin overlap with Jaden and Asar, and it just didn't happen. And I think that's very unfortunate, because we saw Cade with Jaden, with THJ to 3 with Tobias and JD, and then we saw Cade with THJ with Asar and Tobias and THJ, but we never saw Jaden and Asar playing together. We never saw it, and so I think that kind of gets missed. It's starting to kind of get picked up on now. I've seen it recently, and that's good, because that's important. That's important. We still don't know what the ceiling is for the starting group. Still don't know.
Yeah, man. I first and foremost, I just want to say in the comment section, I see all you guys comment. You guys are an absolute blessing. Shannon too. I've seen all of the heartfelt comments. I appreciate each and every one of y'all.
Yeah.
Man, listen. It's. So Jaden Ivey, let's go back to this comment that I was just reading while you were talking.
Okay.
Right here from MB Well. Shout out to MB Well, man.
Shout out, bro.
So here's the thing. When you look at a Jaden Ivey situation, right? Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to that point, because this team, and the way that this roster is built, the mentality of this team, unless you have some type of, you suffer a whole lot of attrition, it's not going to be a situation where, the Pistons are going to fall back. You can't fall back from that. You know what I'm saying? You cannot fall back from that. You're going to be a playoff team next season. You're going to be a better team next season, because there's going to be growth from these young guys. Your core is your core.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And guys like Asar are only going to get better. Guys like Duran are only going to get better. K himself is only going to get better. You see what I'm saying? He's going to be able to, with an Ivy on the court, he's going to be able to keep the ball in his hands and possibly close out those games a little bit better.
Right.
Without them rushing at him and doing things like that. So it changes the whole dynamic of the team when you get in a player and Ivy back. I know some of you guys in here are Lions fans, and you see Brad Holmes in the same situation with Aiden Hutchinson, where he's getting ready to extend Aiden Hutchinson, who's coming off a broken leg.
Right.
And both of these guys are one of the most biggest workhorse type of players that you can have, man, especially in the offseason. You see the new clips with Aiden Hutchinson are absolutely insane.
Yeah.
That's what these players are.
How is he this bendy already, bro?
Yeah, that's crazy. But you know, those players are players that they're going to work. They're going to put in the work to come back even stronger.
Yeah.
And I expect that from Ivy. So
Agreed.
I think we're good, man. We're good right where we are. Like I said, the only thing we do, we add another big or add another player. That's another scoring punch. We'll be fine. Tobias Harris is here for another year. You know what I'm saying? So we're good, man. Let's not overpress. You know what I'm saying? Let's not try to do too much and be greedy and then put ourselves in the situation and mess up all this wealth that we've built. You know what I'm saying? That's been built over these terrible years. We're gonna finally see the wealth from it, you know, once again next season. So let's compound.
I think the ascension can be a lot quicker than people think, just because the talent is starting to round in the form at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It can be like a perfect storm. They all got the playoff experience together. You know, Jaden didn't, but everybody else did. I think once these guys start to get a taste of that real potential of who they can be, and it starts happening at the same time, they can all elevate together pretty quickly. I want to give a shout out to our boy Tony Dombrowski. What's going on, Tony? Tony says, "What's up, gentlemen? I want to run it back. I don't see why we can't be a top 4 seed in the East next season with a healthy Jaden and Stu. Keep killing them, my guys." Shout out to you, Tony. You're a real one, brother. Real one, man, for sure. For sure. I had to shout you out. But yeah, he's dead on, though, guys. Once again, we're preaching patience. And that's exactly what we need to exhibit right now and kind of just really put into place, because there's no need to rush anything. Go ahead, bro. I need to get in there.
Yeah, no. I totally agree. Exactly what you were saying. There's no need to rush, man. Let's take our time. You know, I mean, I just did a thorough job explaining why. Oh, I'm sorry. I got my phone. Just did a thorough reason of why we need to just be patient and calm down.
Yep.
But another name right here in this comment that I've been seeing a lot, you know what I'm saying, for the last month or so.
Okay.
Zion Williams.
Okay. I'm going to read it. Ill the Great, 313. Shout out to you. What up, though, fellas? Marcus Allen here. Would you take Zion for pennies on a dollar? I love Ivy, but here we go. I love Ivy, but I do it to get to the next level, although I try at all costs to keep him. King, go ahead first, bro.
Okay. Now, this Zion thing, right?
Yep.
Obviously a hell of a player. You know what I'm saying? Big time player when available. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When available, availability is the best ability you can have in this league. Zion he continues to just not be that. You know what I'm saying? It's an injury here or some weight issues there, or you know, it's always something with Zion. And like I said, that's the classic Pistons thing right there. If that's what you want to do,
yeah,
that's the classic Pistons thing right there. I know it probably would take a player, you know, a good young player, like an Ivy or whatever it is. So you're gonna see Ivy's name tossed around a lot, obviously, because he didn't play this season. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, these scenarios right now are pipe smoke to me right now. I just don't think, like I said, I don't think Trajan Langdon is that dude. Like I said, I don't think he's going to trade away his future talent to bring someone in here.
Yeah.
Like a Zion Williamson, who hasn't proven he can stay on the court for 82 games. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's my thoughts on it. Maybe I'm tripping, but that's where I'm at.
No, when he's healthy, he's a top 10, 15 player easily, in my opinion, when he's healthy. And that's kind of the issue. It's like you look at teams, even like the Lakers with AD, when he was always hurt. When he's healthy, he's great. But it's always the win part that is so important. And so often, regardless of the reason, but when you have injury issues at a young age, like as you get older, they don't get less, they accumulate. So Ace Outlaw says we don't need Blake Griffin 2.0. Yeah, I don't think that Zion would have the athletic fall slide that Blake had, but it's just, are you going to be available? And actually, Blake played a lot when he was here. He wasn't the same player. He actually expanded his game, but it wasn't like he was just out half the year every year. He was on one leg in the playoffs, so he was still on the court. He was still trying to play. He was trying to get back in, into form so he can play. So yeah, it's just, for me, it seems like with Zion, it seems the other way. It seems like he just doesn't have a want to always play. He just doesn't seem motivated. And that's even more scary because that's up here. And as you get older, it takes more work to get and stay into shape. So it's not a good sign seeing this from him this young for me. That's why I'm kind of out on him.
Yeah, it's with Zion, it's definitely a mentality thing with him.
Yeah.
if I got to bring you in here with mentality issues, man, I kind of don't want you. You know what I'm saying? When we playing this style of basketball here in Detroit, I don't know if that fits. You know what we're trying to do. You know, like I said, the Blake Griffin situation, it's a little bit different. Blake Griffin had, you know, some more devastating injuries. And the thing with Blake, even though he had a great playoff series, it was just like timing. It's like, when is it going to be when he can't play for us? And it's always when you need him the very, very most. And he wasn't available at the end where we needed him. So, you know, so different situations. Like I said, like you said, Zion is more of a mental and mentality thing with him. His weight ups and downs and everything else. We don't have time for that right now. So yeah,
for sure. So we'll see what happens with that. I want to get to some super chats here and then we'll keep going. Eastside Meat, shout out to you, bro. Says, with Dennis not coming in and finally adjusting in the playoffs the way he did, and Malik played off floor at times, money wise, who do you keep if only one? Between Dennis and Malik, I think that's a good question. And I don't think there's a concrete answer right now. Personally, I don't even know if the front office has a concrete answer as of yet. This may be the time they're trying to figure everything out. But I think it all hinges on Jaden, honestly, bro, because I'm just thinking about the depth of this team. And I don't know if you can keep both of these. It really just depends too how much money they're going to ask for. You know, right now, Malik, he's on a 1 year, $6 million deal. He's not going to get that next year. It's going to be at least double what he got this year, right? But I think it's going to come down to Jaden and what he can do for this team. And I think his ability to be able to play on and off ball is going to make somebody expendable, because his ability to shoot the ball and to be able to handle and set others up is going to make guys, I think, like Malik or THJ, who primarily just do one of those things, which is shooting, a little bit expendable and maybe even shooters. So I'm not sure which of those guys is going to be here or not, but I think one of those guys may not be here next year. But your thoughts on that?
They both will be here.
All three of them? Between
Dennis Schroeder, last time I checked, he was around here playing on vet minimum contracts. Last time I checked. He is. And he's not going to demand any more because he's been doing this for years. His payday days are over with. So, and you know, a guy in Beasley, I mean, we talking about somebody who was going toe for toe for the 3-point title this season.
Yeah.
You'd be a fool to let him walk away and take that away from you know, Cade Cunningham. So, like I said, I think they both have a chance to be here, because Dennis Schroeder's not about to demand no money from anybody. Those days are dead. They're long gone.
So what about THJ? We're gonna get to it later, but that was the guy I was thinking. I don't know if there's a way to keep all of these guys. Maybe it is, but maybe I'm not sure yet. What do you think?
THJ, for me, man, I love THJ. But out of all of those guys, you know, performers, THJ to me is, throughout the season, has been up and down. He's been streaky like he always is. So, you know, like I said, if anybody, I think he might be the guy that walks away. But there's a strong part of me that says, you know, THJ, I don't know, man, because he was brought here and he was requested specifically by
Cade.
By Cade. You know what I'm saying? So that's a different situation right there.
It is, because you got relationships. So that's why it's gonna be interesting. That's why I feel like this is going to be a very crucial offseason for the Pistons, because you got a lot of guys who are not on contract, you know, got to be re-signed. This is going to be a little bit of turnover or just some new additions or subtractions, and we're going to see it. It's going to be visible. So I'm just curious to see how he handles these situations, and really, you know, this is what he's brought here to do. So we'll see. It's going to be fun to kind of see what happens with that, because when you think about Trajan, like we talked about later, but this is, like I said, it's so important this offseason, man, just how they handle the progression of this team and how they execute, you know, to continue to push this team forward more than just like one season or two. Not being a flash in the pan, but actually having that sustainability like they did when they had previous 6 year in a row Eastern Conference championship runs type of runs. So we've heard Trajan say himself that, you know, the progression of this team is a little ahead of schedule. Even he was saying that. So I want to see how he reacts to that. I want to see, you know, if he intends to push more of his chips into the center of the table, which I hope not, or if he keeps, you know, the patient approach and allows these young guys to grow together. So that's going to be what I'm looking for this offseason. For sure. I want to get to a few more super chats. We appreciate you guys, and we'll keep it moving. Darryl, what's going on, bro? Appreciate you as always, man. Pistons will be a top 3 team in the East next year, especially when they're 100% healthy and we have the best young core in the NBA. Definitely think that's out of the question.
Most importantly, the East. And that's another thing a lot of people aren't realizing, that some of these teams, this was their last hurrah this season, and it didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be some teams broken down in the East. This is the perfect time for teams like the Pistons and the Pacers and the Orlando Magic. This is the perfect time for them to come into the playoff scene and start to get that experience, because it's about to be their league. You know what I'm saying?
Teams like the Bucks, for example, are really starting to go in the opposite direction. I feel you. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's a chance that Giannis might be on the West Coast next season.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So perfect timing for the Pistons. Perfect timing. Great situation.
Yeah. Sumo Bala says, I feel we need a Laurie. So hopefully I pronounced that right, Sumo. So I think it's Sumo Bala. I feel we need a Laurie Markkinen kind of player. Yeah, we do need that kind of player. I don't know if that's the player we need specifically, but that kind of guy who can stretch the floor and be tough on the defensive side of the ball. Thoughts on that?
Everybody needs a Laurie Markkinen.
Kenny Smith said that.
Is he attainable?
That's the question. That's the question. It's a lot of perfect world trades out there and moves out there that everybody is living in that same world as they go to their imagination, right? But it's like, is it feasible? Is it realistic? That's really the question. So I think, Sumo, you're on the right track as far as who we may need. Now we got to look at who may be more realistic, and we'll look at that a little bit later as we take a look at the free agents. What's going on, brother? Glorious tears. Salute, brothers, just passing through. Much love. Hey, man, shout out to y'all, bro.
Shout out to y'all.
To the Knicks, man.
Give us a great series, man.
Yeah.
Giving us the experience we needed.
Yeah, you've always been humble in victory and gracious in defeat. So want to shout your team out. They deserve it. They've earned it, and y'all moving on. Hopefully you guys can get a couple games maybe on Boston, because Boston over there is just ridiculous.
They just waiting, picking their nails, man.
Yeah. Hopefully y'all can get a game or two and it don't get too ugly. But shout out to you as always, bro. Keith Lee, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you as always, man. He says, I'm thinking if we're lucky, Danny Wolf can drop to us in the draft. I keep hearing Danny Wolf. I'm gonna be fair. I have not seen a lot of Danny Wolf. If not, make an attempt to go after Nas. Now we talking. Now we getting warmer. But go ahead, King. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if that happened, that's beautiful and well. At this point, when you start becoming a winning franchise, a playoff franchise, the draft to me is always second thought. Mm-hmm. Who you draft and bring in here is, I mean, you may get lucky and get a really, really good player out of the draft.
Right.
Me, I'm looking more forward to veterans, because we need to experience players. We're in the playoffs now, you know what I'm saying? So we need to experience players right now more than the young rooks. So if we can add something like that, fine. I'm more power to us, but it's kind of a second thought for me right now.
Okay. Yeah, that second name at the bottom, which we're gonna get to more, is a name that y'all know. I've been talking about this cat since last year. And I think, Ken, you were kind of on the same tip, talking about Nas Reed as far as guys, prototypes that we will be looking at. So we're gonna get to that for sure, Keith Lee. But I appreciate your support, bro. We're gonna talk about Nas Reed in depth a little bit more. So King, let's do this, man. Let's go ahead and segue to our current roster and just kind of take a look at guys that you feel like will remain, or maybe who you feel like may not be here. I see a lot of people kind of talking about it as far as who they think they will want to kind of go after, or who they kind of want to let go. So I kind of want to just get into that. So let me share the screen and we will pull that up here. Because is there anybody that jumps out at you guys in the chat? Let us know. Anybody that jumps out at you guys, drop names in the comments who you guys think maybe will not be here past this season, and who you guys think, just kind of give us your train of thought, and we'll kind of go from there. Trying to open this here now. It's not letting me, but let me see if I can do this again. Here. Okay, I think we got it now. There we go. All right. So, King, I'm gonna just kind of go through each player. Let me know what you're thinking as far as if you think they'll remain or not. In chat, do the same thing here with us too. Tobias Harris, yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay. THJ, yay or nay?
Nay.
Isaiah Stewart, yay or nay?
Yay.
Kay Cunningham, yay or nay?
Better.
Dennis Schroeder, yay or nay?
Yay.
Asar Thompson, yay or nay?
Yay.
Ron Holland, yay or nay?
Yay.
Jaden Ivey, yay or nay?
Yay.
Simone Fontecchio, yay or nay?
Hell no.
You said, oh, hell no. Malik Beasley, yay or nay?
Yes.
Jalen Duren, yes or no?
Yes.
Paul Reed, yes or no?
No.
Marcus Sasser, yes or no?
No.
Wendell Moore, yes or no?
No.
Lindy Waters, yes or no?
No.
Bobby Clintman, yes or no?
Yes.
Dennis Schinken, yes or no? Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. All right, I'm going to let you finish. Ron Harper Jr., Tolu Smith, Cole Swider, Allen.
All those guys, those crapshoots,
G League guys, maybe. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I kind of want to get your initial thought on that. So I pretty much agree with all your answers except for a couple. I'm looking at these contracts here too. These are for next season, 25, 26 right here. So this is what we're working with as far as the money for next season. So Kate is obviously going to be here. Tobias is going to be here. I think at least he's going to be a part of this team. I think at least to start the season.
At least half a season.
Oh, right. To start the season, maybe we'll talk later as we get to the trade deadline. No, nothing against Tobias. It's just looking ahead, how we can get better. Isaiah Stewart, without a question, he's not going anywhere. Just his culture setting in defensive prowess is ridiculous. Jaden Ivey, absolutely not. Asar Thompson, absolutely not. Ron Holland, not. Fontecchio, yes. I don't think he's going to be here next year. I think him not playing in the playoffs was kind of indicative of what may happen. The fact that he played all season and then didn't play at all in the playoffs showed me the lack of trust that the team had in him, the coaching staff had in him to be able to consistently bring something to the game, impacting the game in some way, shape, or form every game. And I feel like that may have been indicative of that. So I think we're going to have options there. JD's not going anywhere, especially on $6 million. Ridiculous. Sasser, I don't know. I don't know about Sasser, man. I'm thinking about what his role would be for this team other than depth at this point. So I like Sasser too. It's hard, man. I'm still out on that one. I'm still out on him. Bobby Clintman, absolutely. I think he's going to be the backup power forward next season or small forward next season. He's going to have a role this coming season. I think that's clear. Maybe it's just because we watched him a lot more than usual, more than most. So it's clear to us. But if I'm off base here, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. But I think he's going to definitely be here for a while. And I hope he's here for a long time. He's just a really good player. And then that's pretty much it, bro. I definitely agree. I don't think Paul Reed is going to return. I think he filled in admirably for Stu. But I think we just need a little bit more versatility with that third big spot. And he plays between JD and Stu. He tries to play more like Stu, but he's just not as good as Stu. And so I think we want some more versatility with that third big man spot. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my thoughts on him, but no shade to him. I think he played good considering him being thrust into the lineup when Stu went down and having to go against these guys. I think he did a solid job. I think we just got to upgrade that spot a little bit, but we'll see. But everybody else, I agree, bro. So it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, Lindy Waters. You don't have Lindy Waters coming back. I thought that was kind of surprising. Only $2 million last year, so he's not going to have a huge market. I think it'll be around the same amount, maybe 4 or 5. But I don't think it's a make or break. I think he's a good shooter. I wouldn't be mad if he came back if it's on a very friendly type deal. Wendell Moore, I'm with you there. Bees is coming back for sure. Hopefully, Schroeder. I don't know if I can bring him back at 13. I don't know. That's not to say I don't think he's worth it. I just don't know if the Pistons can, considering their other areas of need. So we'll see. Hopefully they can work that out.
It's with the Schroeder situation. It's like we've been in such a dark place. As Pistons fans, I don't think you realize that Schroeder, yes, he played well for us. But a lot of teams have these backup point guards that do this stuff all the time. This is not out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? He's not playing out of the ordinary. He's doing his job just like every other good team around the league has that point guard that comes in. So, like I said, he is expendable. It depends on the way that the things fall with the contract situation. Guys like B-Ball Paul is the reason why I said I don't expect him to be around here this season. upcoming season. You might go out and find something that can contribute a little bit more.
Yeah.
I truly do, even though at first it was like, okay, it was a pipe dream, but I truly do that. I think that this might be the year for Drummond's retirement coming.
You've been on that.
These next couple of years, and he's a veteran minimum player right now who
Right.
provides exactly what you need in rebounding. You know what I'm saying?
Like
so I would definitely go with something like that over a Paul Reed. So
yeah.
that's a big body. It's not undersized guy that's trying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that's a realistic thing. And especially after the energy that Andre Drummond's been showing this offseason, even during the playoffs,
I was just
his entrance in the Pistons, he's been watching religiously. So I think that's a real situation.
I think in one of his tweets, he referred to the team as we.
Yeah.
Like he, you know what I mean? He's still under contract for a basketball team. He's talking about the Pistons. Hopefully we can pull this. Like, it's like, wow. Like he really does love this city, bro. And you can see he wants to come back. I would love to have him back in that role. Having somebody in practice for JD to go up against another rebounding machine that he can learn from, one of the best to ever do it, one of the best rebounders this game has ever seen, easily, Andre Drummond. That would do wonders for JD. Somebody he can learn from. You know what I mean? Somebody he has to bang against in practice. I think that's huge.
He's our Mitchell Robinson
type
of situation. You see what I'm saying?
100%, but better.
Yeah, but
better than Mitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sure. But that's a great call, bro. I hope the Pistons make that kind of move, especially if it's around the same price that we have Harid at right now. That'd be great, man. It'd be a nice homecoming for him to have that opportunity. It just feels like a good situation. So we'll see. But I'm with you on the rest of the guys. THJ, I don't know. That's a tough one for me because it's like I love seeing him at the games. I love seeing his father front row going like this.
Yeah.
Every time he does something good. I love seeing it, man. Him playing at Michigan, playing the same exact way, pretty much the way he played there, the way he plays here. Just a team player. He's always been that way. He's been inconsistent sometimes, but it's a good situation, good story. I'm just wondering about what the Pistons need and how they're going to be able to keep all these young stars that I think they have eventually down the road. So it's just like those are the decisions that are going to have to be made once again by Trajan Langdon. So want to get your thoughts on that. But we can now move on to the next segment. I also want to get to some more super chats that we have here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see. Party Boy DS. What's going on, brother? It says, I feel like we just need two more big guys that can hit the three or the mid-range or good in the paint. We miss too many shots when given the opportunity. King, reaction to that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I wouldn't even say just shooting. We got beat up in the paint.
Right.
And I don't know if a lot of people was paying attention to that. You had consistently Bridges and Hart down there stealing rebounds from us.
Yeah.
That is a huge problem. So we need somebody that's really gonna, rebound the basketball for us.
Mm-hmm.
And get that ball kicked back out, for second chance opportunities. We just didn't have that consistently enough. So that's to me, that's more of the bigger thing right now. We can always use a big that can stretch the floor. That changes the dynamic.
Yep.
But rebounding is something that we just really needed in this playoff series. We needed more of, because besides Duran, you may have opportunities where you see Cade or somebody else get one here and there, but we definitely got out rebounded when it came to our wings and our guards getting in there and getting dirty like the Knicks players were.
Right. I think like we saw that, and you talked about just the lack of experience and toughness. Not really toughness, but just lack of experience, lack of size and physicality once JD sat down and not having Stu. I think that's really when you saw guys like Mitchell Robinson, who were just more physically imposing, just being able to get offensive rebounds. There was so many offensive rebounds, especially the last couple of games, just long misses. And I know some long misses from three-pointers, you can't get to all of them. They bounce back out to the free throw line. But some of those, it's like you gotta secure the ball. You gotta finish a possession. And there was just too many times the Pistons just couldn't get the rebound. They just could not get it. You see them, they get 3 or 4 stops and they just can't get the board. And then the Knicks get a three-pointer. So it's just like that kind of stuff is demoralizing for your defense when you can't, when you play hard and you played hard for basically sometimes up to a minute of defense because they just keep getting the rebound, keep getting it, and they still get a 3-ball on you. That's demoralizing. It's tiring. Yeah. So the more you can, like you said, finish possessions, like a guy with a guy like Andre Drummond, who can come in and do the same exact thing that JD does, just gobble up boards, right? Just be a vacuum and just grab everything under the paint, just dominate that paint. That's important because now you can get out and push way more often.
Yep.
So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, bro. But I definitely agree with you, Party Boy. We got to get bigger, got to get a little bigger. And that's kind of why we were talking about, guys like Nasri, who we'll get to soon. But we got to upgrade, I think, some spots a little bit, just get a little bit bigger and longer. And that'll go a long way as far as to securing those rebounds and finishing those possessions like we talked about. So we'll leave it there. Let's get to a few more super chats and we will transition to our second topic for the night. Trust and Trajan, he says, grow organically. Don't skip steps. 100%.
Smart brother right there.
100%. That's the best way to do it. That's how Pistons teams have always done it. It hasn't been the huge swing for the fences. It's never been that. It's always been, build slowly, add pieces, build a core. And then when the time is right, go and get the pieces to put you over the top while keeping the sheets clean as much as possible. Go ahead.
That's how great franchises always have done it.
Yep.
The anomaly that came in and did it back in the big 3 days and all that, those franchises, none of them won as much as we expected them to.
Right.
They weren't successful like we thought they would be.
True.
The more successful franchises, they grow it organically, they pay their guys, and then they add what they need in order to get over the hump. So that's where I expect the Pistons to be.
Yeah.
We're going to keep our core. If we're going to continue to grow them organically, because all of that time will be wasted. Mm-hmm. So you're going to grow them organically, and you're going to add the guys in the spots where you need to improve the team in order to push them over the top. That's where we're going.
Yeah, 100%. We always say it. In order to build something that's going to be sustainable, it's going to take time. Flash in the pans don't last for years. They come and they go with the win. So 100%. We're trying to build, a championship contending roster for a run, not just for a season. So I agree with you, bro. Let's get to a few more. Baldwin 810 says, how would you guys feel if the Pistons signed players like Kevin Porter Jr. and Brook Lopez? Okay. Let's start with Brook first. I'd rather have Drummond more, 100%, because of his rebounding ability. And Brook has kind of he's lost a lot of his athleticism.
He can't really move.
He can't move, bro. Especially we talk about guys like Stu who can trust on the island, right? Yeah. Not so much Brook Lopez anymore.
About 3-4 years ago, fine. But
when they won their chip, that was the end of his prime. That was it. He started declining right after that, and he was really playing good defense. But now he's just too slow. He would be a liability defensively. It'd be tough out there, him by himself on the island on a switch on pick and roll. So that would be worrisome for me. But Kevin Porter Jr., if for some reason the Pistons can't come to an agreement with a guy like Dennis Schroeder, I wouldn't mind that at all, adding him to this team. Even if it's in the Lindy Waters type of roster depth role. But I think he's better than that. I watched him this year. He looked as good this year as I've seen him ever. I think he was with the Rockets before this. He never looked this good consistently. And he's tough. I like him. What are your thoughts on him?
The crazy part is, man, if you're an ancient follower of me, he was one of the players when he came in to the NBA that I actually wanted the Pistons to get. I actually wanted to get him because of his ability, man. He can hoop. Whatever is going on, outside is one thing, but one thing he can do is play ball. Ball. You know what I'm saying? And right now he's in a situation where he's on the roster where he fits. Mm-hmm. He has the attitude and the mentality is just the off the floor things, which I think he's grown from because he's had a couple of seasons here where you just haven't really heard much.
Right.
So I think he's grown from that. So if you took a shot on him, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah.
And obviously the talent speaks for itself.
I think the situation being here, though, in a cultured city with a foundation that's set now, I think he would kind of lean in, especially when he sees that we're just trying to win. We're all about winning. There's no egos. Sometimes your environment can dictate that for you, how you react. Sometimes with certain guys, some guys are just like against the grain, like, no, I'm going to do this myself. But other guys are like, oh, that's how you do it. Okay, I roll with that. So I think he could be one of those guys. And like you said, I think he's grown. Just seeing how he looked with, he still brought the toughness, right? He still brought that Ron Holland type toughness on the court. Like, I'm not playing around. Like, I have no friends here. But it's not over the top like how it used to be. He used to hurt his team with his mentality sometimes. Right. And I didn't see him doing that this year with the Bucks at all year. So Baldwin, I'm with you on the KPJ part. The Brook part, I'm not so sure just because he's really lost that athleticism and you really can't switch everything defensively with him. So that would be my only issue. But yeah, KPJ, I think we both agree on that one, bro. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Let's get to Frank Norman. Frank Norman says, appreciate you, Frank. Says, I remember everybody getting excited about Bob Lanier. Wow. Let them young guys cook. So, guys, for anybody who doesn't know, Frank is, as far as I know, the longest tenured Pistons fan in our community. Like he told me he started watching in 64, I believe. 1964. Ooh. So, Frank, as always, I appreciate you for that comment. That's something I never would have thought about. So, Frank, real quick, in the comments, let me know who you see today that reminds you most of Bob Lanier. Because most of us didn't get a chance to watch Bob Lanier. We've heard stories about how great he was, things like that, and rightfully so. But who today would you say is most like Bob Lanier for us young heads, right? That can really have a good comparison. Let us know. We appreciate you as always, Frank. All right, bro. Let's get to two more, and then we're going to move on. Keith Lee Petway coming back around. Appreciate your brother. Says, I'm also thinking we can experiment the jumbo front line like Drummond, Monroe, and Smith again. Hey, really? This time Duran at the 5. Okay. Nas Reed at the 4 and Harris at the 3. Okay, I like it. But the thing about that, Keith, is you got way more shooting in that second lineup. Way more shooting. Like Reed and Harris, you trust them shooting threes. Monroe and Smith, absolutely not.
Now, just
go ahead.
Let me find this comment right quick because it caught my eye when he said it.
Okay.
It goes with what Keith is saying. Mm-hmm. The league is already there. It's not trending that way.
Right.
It's already there. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we played a lot of teams with double big. Sometimes they put 3 out there on us, man, and we just get outsized. You know what I'm saying? So we are already back to traditional style basketball.
Love it.
But today, what we have to offer as far as bigs who can stretch the floor and trying to do a lineup where you got double bigs and things like that, it works a little different today than it did back then.
Yeah.
It's a little bit better for us, you know, as far as having 3 bigs out there on the floor, at least 2 of them need to be able to shoot. You know what I'm saying? So, but the 2 big lineups are definitely here. And I don't see any issue with us having Duran and, you know, another big as a sidekick next to him. That works out perfect for me. That's what I've been wanting for a while.
Exactly. 100%. And I like what he said there, Tobias at the 3, because we know Tobias in the 4. He can play as big as possible, right? He leans into playing, you know, we saw that against Cat. He did everything he could, and he did a good job at times guarding him, but he's just not big enough. You know what I'm saying? For him to be comfortable there, I think, you know, for a season and to sustain it. So I like the Duran Reed Harris package. I like that. That's my bad. I saw Drummond, Monroe, and Smith and said, wait, hold on. Like, they but when I saw Keith, when I read the rest of it and saw what you were talking about, that made a lot more sense. So that would be perfect for me. And that's not, and at that point, now you got to look at Asar and how does he fit, you know, as far as at that 3. Is he ready to be a consistent starter? And because we saw how impactful he was on the court, but just offensively, if he can make those jumps, are you having Tobias off the bench? A lot of questions. So, but definitely, Keith, agree with you as far as going jumbo and having at least one of those 2 big guys between the center and the power forward who can spread the floor, like King was saying. So 100% agree with you. Appreciate you as always, brother. One more. DG, what's going on, DG? Fans need to look at the Thunder and Rockets, understanding that it took time for those young teams to get as good as they are. No huge moves made it. King, your reaction to DG?
Like I said, it's pretty much what I was just saying. If you're gonna do it organically and do it the right way, we're ahead of schedule. We're ahead of schedule. You know what I'm saying? We are right where we're supposed to be at the same time. You know, like I said, we heard that, you know, we're gonna be this team that's competitive and, you know, play for a play-in situation. Well, we did more than play for a play-in situation. That's why I say we're ahead of schedule. But at the same time, we're right where we need to be because the objective this year was always postseason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whether it's play-in situation or whatever it is. So, like I said, our timeline is right. And understanding, you know, that it took time for those teams to raise those young guys up. I mean, we're in a great situation right here.
Right.
Let's not waste what we've done. Let's not waste the situation we've been put into, and go out here and just be off the wall crazy. Don't be Stan Van Gundy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Don't do
Yeah.
that to us again, man. Let's let these young guys get where they need to get and bring the right people in here for them. That's all I'm asking for.
I'm gonna say this too. I do understand why so many fans are impatient, because they're looking around at the teams who had those high draft picks when we had ours. The Thunder, the Rockets, like they had those draft picks when we had those draft picks a few years ago. Like you think about Jaden and Chet and Jabari, they all came out together. You know what I'm saying? So the problem is that we lost a year last year. That's why they're ahead of us.
Mm-hmm.
If we had JB last year starting, we'd be right there with the Thunder and the Rockets. They're above us right now, just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Thunder, but the Rockets, we're close. But we lost a year last year. All the guys that we have now, we saw Jaden and Cade and Asar and Jalen all progress over this season. What if that started last year? We lost a whole year of development last year. Last year is a wash. So I think that's why fans are getting impatient, looking around at the other teams like, they got better. What we doing? You know what I'm saying? So I understand why fans, to a point, have the impatience. It's because last year was last year, and those other teams didn't have last year happen to them the way we did. Can't hear you, bro. You on mute? Nope. What do y'all think about that? Because I feel like that's why it's so much impatience. It's because it's like, man, everybody else is killing it right now. Everybody else, what are we doing? Why aren't we taking that next step? And I think that's a big part of why. You back with us? Nope. No. Can y'all hear King, or is it me? I think I'm good, but let us know in the comments.
What about now?
There we go. I got you. Yep, for sure.
Okay. I had to plug my laptop in charge. I lost my audio.
Good, buddy. Good.
So the situation with the OKC Thunder, in the fortunate situation over there, because they're the young team out there. They running, they gunning. You know what I'm saying? The West is, man, they got a lot of dinosaurs over there in the West. You know what I'm saying? You're starting to see it in some of these series. You just seen the Timberwolves in 5 against the Lakers, who was supposed to be in 5. So, like I said, a lot of these younger rosters, man, over there in the West, they're doing really, really good. They're successful. And then you look over here in a team with Cleveland, who has some young guys over there too. And the Pistons are that next team. You know what I'm saying? But just like you said, we had to suffer last year. And not only that, we just suffer attrition right here in the playoffs with these guys and Ivy and Isaiah Stewart when we needed them the most. You know what I'm saying? So the Pistons are still right there. You know, even though we're home right now, we're still right there with those teams. Next season, I think you're going to start to see that a little bit more when it comes to record-wise or whatever. But there's a difference in between being a regular season winner, winning a lot of games during the regular season, and a team that the other teams in the league really look at and say, these guys might win a championship.
Right.
That's where that's where I see the Pistons. You know what I'm saying? They're on their trajectory saying, hey, the Pistons going to win a championship. A couple of them joints, they coming. You know what I'm saying? Some of them other teams is like, they winning a bunch of games. It's like, but I don't know if they're going to win the finals. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. That's why I'm not just trying to make a move, bro. Like, I keep hearing all these moves. It's like, where does that take us? Where do you see us? I understand so many fans have, like, a lot of fans have not been around for those championship runs, so they don't remember what it was like. You know what I'm saying? The expectation level that we had. Not to cut you off, but like, I'm just seeing that a lot. Let's get this guy. Where does that put us? Does that put us at a championship level or a Eastern Conference semifinals, maybe Eastern Conference finals level? Like, that's what I'm looking at. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. I like I said, I totally agree, man. It's just, I don't know. I don't want to keep repeating myself, man. You know, I don't want to be. I don't want to be the sales pitch for the Pistons. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, like I said, I don't benefit anything for sitting up here giving you a sales pitch for what the Pistons can do and shoot. You know, I can't get on social media like other people. So listen, I'll just say this, and just leave it at that. The Detroit Pistons are on the way.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to rush and do anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
Yes, we just,
the
you
ordinary.
know, we just right. Yes,
Don't get it. Go ahead.
we went to the playoffs and we want to keep playing right now. I know, you know, Pistons fans wanted to keep watching Pistons basketball because it's so exciting.
Yeah.
Next season's going to be better.
Yes.
Next season's going to be better.
Yes.
So let's dial it back and be patient. Let's not turn into video game players.
Mm-hmm.
Man.
Yeah. That's
Wayne couldn't have said it no better.
Yeah. Rome was not built in a day. And how long has it stood? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I was saying earlier. Whatever you want us to have something sustainable, it's going to take time, brick by brick. You can't just try to,
if Langdon wants to win, if he's serious about winning, he'll say, screw what these fans are talking about and do it his way and continue to be consistent with that. You know what I'm saying? Because fans are always going to look for ways to ruin you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, go get this player. Oh, I would love to have his jersey on. Like, no, bro, that's not what we're here for. We're trying to win championships.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about, man. So with that, we will segue to the next topic and then we can move on from there. So we talked about it a little bit, so let's make it a little bit easier. But just the outlook for the offseason. You've seen a lot of names getting thrown around. I keep seeing Laurie Mark in the chat. And I see a lot of JJJ, Jaren Jackson Jr., guys of that ilk. As far as who they would like to pursue. So go ahead and get your thoughts together, bro, because I want to kind of look at the NBA free agent listing that is as of right now, and we'll see who may be available and who the Pistons may want to target. So let's run it back with the yay or nay, yes or no. I'm just gonna run through a few guys, and you tell me if you think these guys are guys you'd be interested in. And chat, you guys do the same. LeBron James.
Retire, please.
Shut up, bro. Not happening. Not happening, bro.
Retire.
He gonna play 23, gonna play till 23. Anyway, okay. Before we get off track, Fred VanVleet.
No.
Kyrie Irving.
No.
James Harden.
No.
And
before y'all in the comments to get started, it's because these players I don't think realistically would come anywhere this way. They don't make sense to come here. Okay,
so you're just saying as far as realistically what you think. Got you. Okay. Chris Middleton.
No, too old.
Yeah. Julius Randle.
Heck no. Shot chucker. Bean buster.
Bro, they are making it work somehow in Minnesota. I don't even know how they're doing that, bro. But they're making it work. Maybe it's because of Ant-Man. But anyway, okay. John Collins.
Wouldn't mind it, but I think we go cheaper.
Yes.
So no.
Yes. But maybe that type of guy.
Yeah,
maybe
that type of
guy. Yeah. Okay. We just talked Brook Lopez.
Too old.
Yes. Clint Capella.
I always love Clint Capella. It's just for the price, though. No.
Yeah, and he doesn't provide shooting either. I think we're kind of we have a better Clint Capella as at this stage right now in JD, in my opinion. Right, younger version too. Yeah. Bruce Brown Jr.
We already got a junior.
Malcolm Brogdon.
No.
Miles Turner.
Would love to, but again, of course, the question and concern is the price tag.
Yeah, exactly. He's a UFA, so they don't have his bird rights. The Pacers, so he's at 20 million now. If we could get Miles Turner at 20 million, bro, I'm putting him at power forward.
Yep.
And running it with him and JD.
It's a price situation. Yep.
But 20, man, I'm making that work if I can get it for 20. That's not who I want ideally, but if I can make that work, that's high on my list. All right. Tim Hardaway Jr., who's on the team, we talked about that already.
If the price is right and if K can get in his ear. So yeah.
Okay, got you. Duncan Robinson.
Duncan Robinson, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just don't fit Pistons to me.
D'Angelo Russell.
No.
Yes, right. Karis LeVert.
Love Karis.
Interesting.
Yeah, love Karis, man. Obviously a Michigan slap. But
yeah. He was after Tim, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Trying to remember.
I don't know, man.
That's a tough one because I feel like he's a very underrated player.
Yeah, he always
injuries,
has.
He's never been able to get on a roll of just consistently being healthy.
Right.
He would elevate, and then get hurt. Elevate, and then get hurt. Like he just couldn't stay healthy. So for that reason, I'm not one of those guys that just assume because you come to my team, you're just gonna be automatically healthy. Arnie Kender ain't here no more. So like it is what it is at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I feel you on that though. Talent wise, yes, but availability. All right, Luke Kennard.
Doesn't offer you nothing defensively. Can't stay healthy.
Right. Naz Reid.
He's the golden package.
Yes. For me, he's the guy. He is the guy.
He's the golden goose, man.
So look, so we finally got to him. So, and you guys chat it up. Let us hear about Naz Reid or whoever else. We want to get you guys' thoughts and talk about this interactively. So, Naz Reid, bro, as of right now, he's got a player option after this season. Well, now that the season's for him, it's not over a bit. He's a player option for $15 million. He is going to decline that. It has been made public that he is very likely going to decline that. And I don't know if he's going to look to try to restructure with the Wolves or what, but he's trying to get more than 15 million because that's a bargain. 13 million right now is a bargain. 15 next year is a bargain for him. It's been a bargain for a while. They got him at a good deal. So he's going to want more money. I think he may end up being in the Miles Turner range, that 20 million again. So I think the Pistons already know that if they're looking at his way and are hopefully making preparations for how they could possibly get him here. But if you can get him, once again, that between 20 and 23, 25, wouldn't want to, but I would go that high for a guy like him because he's a starter on most teams. But when you mentioned the contract situation, how if you got a big contract, you're not going to be benched for a guy who's making a minimum amount. It's just part of the game. So when you got guys like Gobert and Julius Randle who've got way bigger contracts, it's just no way to start him. You know what I'm saying? It's just a situation like that. So if we can get him for that much, bro, at that number, I will be. If bring back Bees and get Naz Reid, my offseason is complete. With Jaden coming back, Stu coming back healthy, all these guys coming back, that is my ideal situation. So hopefully we can make something like that happen. All right, let's keep going. Dorian Finney-Smith.
No.
Dennis Schroeder. We talked about him already.
Possibility.
Yeah, possibility. Steven Adams.
Why is he still playing?
Yes, right. I'm looking at him at Houston like, bro, what are you doing? Marvin Bagley and
yuck.
Oh man, let's keep it moving. Bobby Portis.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's my number 2 after
shooting, and he's a bad boy that'll whoop your ass. Yep.
Yeah, he fits. He just fits. Yep. All the guys we're mentioning have a lot of the same variables and qualities about themselves. He also has a player option around the same amount, 13 million right there. So I think he may command a little bit less than Naz Reid because I think Naz Reid is still elevating as far as his game. And I think Portis is a little bit – how old is Portis? Like maybe 30, 31? He might be still be okay.
He about to be like 31, I think.
Okay, he might still be okay. All right,
but he ain't a guy that drive you to the back and dunk on you. And he's not that type of dude. He's the guy he'll shoot you, he'll shoot it, he'll put you in the post a little bit. It's fine. Yeah. I'm good with it.
He's not gonna hurt you on the court. That's why I like him. He's a net positive on the court.
Yeah, his body don't demand a whole lot like you would think. So
right, exactly. All right, we can kind of end it there, bro. I think we kind of got to the guys we want to get to. I just kind of wanted to make sure we got to the guys that we were talking about and been talking about for a while. So yeah, my guy is Naz Reid, bro. Everybody here knows it. That's been my guy for a long time since what he did last year in the playoffs against the then defending champion Denver Nuggets. Like going into their house in Game 7 and beating them after being down 20 at halftime. Like Ant-Man did not play well that game. It was Naz Reid. It was Nickeil Alexander-Walker. It was those guys. It was Jaden McDaniels. Those guys really got them back into the game and won that game on Game 7 on the road. So that's when my eyes kind of opened to Naz Reid. Like, whoa, this dude is good. So, and the reason, by the way, guys, when I say I want to upgrade the 4 spot, it's mainly because of size. Like Tobias Harris to me this year played great. He played great this year. He had a very tough start of the year when he was trying to figure out who he was going to be for this team. But once he figured it out, his jumper started falling. We stopped getting excited over him hitting a corner 3. Like you know what I mean? He looked as good as he's ever looked in the Pistons uniform, going back 10 years because of what he gave us on both sides of the ball. But he's still 6'8". Now Naz Reid is 6'9", but he plays much bigger and physical. And I looked it up. Tobias Harris's wingspan is 6'11". Naz Reid is 7'3", 7'4". That in itself makes you taller. So he's long. He's much longer. That's why I'm looking at Naz Reid. That's why I'm like, he's only 6'9", but that's why he's long. So defensively, he's going to bring that physicality, that toughness. He's not going to get bullied pretty much by anybody. And he's long enough to block your shot And offensively, if you don't guard him, you'll pay for it. You'll pay for it. So that's my thoughts on that. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
No, like I said, totally agree. Man, just like I said, I would love to see Tobias play 3, obviously, because of what he can do around the rim.
Yeah.
Especially, players around his range are smaller. You've seen us struggle a little bit when the Knicks went with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson at the same time.
Right.
So, like I said, I just want somebody bigger down there that can rebound the basketball a little bit better.
Right.
To help us out.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really a big Jaren Jackson Jr. fan. I think he averaged like 5 rebounds this year. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't really seem to be a guy who wants to get on the boards, and him being 7 feet, this is kind of worrisome for me a little bit. I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at it, but there's other guys that I have higher on my list before we get to that guy. So Lauri Markkanen, I don't know. To be honest, I haven't watched enough of him to make a very honest opinion, to give a very honest opinion. What I have seen is I don't see physical toughness from him. I don't see physicality. I don't see dog.
Lauri,
I see very good scorer.
Lauri is we get Lauri, we really making noise in the East. The problem is, can you get him? Is the thing.
So from what you've seen, does he is you have no concerns with him defensively?
He's
compare him with JD. He's good enough. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Then I'll take your word on that, because I have not watched enough of him in Utah.
What he gives you on the offensive end anyway, it suffices for that.
It trumps. Okay. So it's still worth the trade-off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Here's the name right here. Boom.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I'm straight then. If he's giving me that, yeah, 100%. Because you're right, because Memo wasn't a top-tier defender. But he was average to above average.
Yeah, he was decent. So
yeah, he was good enough.
That's all you need.
Okay. The only reason we didn't keep him because we have Rashid. So I'm not mad at that if he's anything like Okur. That's tough. That's tough. Okay. All right, I'm with that. Let's get to William McGregor, and we'll call it a night. I want Danny Wolf. I keep hearing this name, bro. I have not watched Danny Wolf. I'm sorry. I will, because I keep seeing it now, but I have not paid any attention to Danny Wolf. I heard a lot of good things about him. I have not personally sat down and watched Danny Wolf. So that's something I have to do. Have you watched him at all, bro? Seen any footage of him?
Not enough. I'll say that. Not enough, but I mean, it's a homework assignment, I guess. Obviously, we got to watch these young guys anyway.
Yeah.
Before we get to the draft.
So the Pistons have the 37th pick, I believe, for going into next year's draft. It kind of feels good to not be looking at draft boards in April. That felt good, because we were focused on watching the Pistons in the playoffs in April this year.
Yeah.
It felt good to not be looking at draft boards this early. So I'm going to get into it a little bit, not like how we have in the past, because we have no first round pick. So much of our focus shouldn't really be on the draft this offseason, but I'll take a look at it. But it feels good to not to focus on that right now. So go ahead, bro.
No, I was just going to say a little bit more on Wolf. I mean,
go ahead.
Like I said, besides the tournament, I really didn't watch him much this season. I didn't watch Michigan basketball that much this season, but he can. Those two bigs were a problem from what I seen.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? During March Madness.
Okay.
If he's there, probably a good pickup. So, like I say, I get where they're coming from. I see why they're saying that. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I don't know if those bigs they're not the biggest athletes either. You know what I'm saying? Those guys, they were stretching the floor. There was a problem down there. I don't know if they're the answer, though.
Let me ask you this, just so I can get a gauge because I'm thinking if he's there at 37, how good is he actually? So let me just get a gauge. I'm just trying to get a gauge for him. I haven't really watched him. Who are you taking? Danny Wolf in the draft, or are you taking Andre Drummond in free agency?
I'm always going to go with the veteran, because it's a crapshoot coming out the draft.
Right. That's
like I said, I mean, player, you talking about player of the year, and some of the centers that you've seen coming to college, and then they can't get on the court.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, Wolf is a baller.
Okay.
He's a baller.
Is there anybody you can give me a reference to, like a player comp, or anybody who I can say, okay, like you did with the Markkanen and Okur thing? Anybody you can compare him to?
Luke, y'all be right on time, man.
Really?
Luka Garza type of situation.
Oh, Garza. Okay. I thought he meant Dodge. I'm like, wait a minute. There's no way at 37 he's gonna be that.
Man, I don't know, man. I like I said, I don't see him tearing up the league. Me personally, from what I saw watching them, I don't see him tearing up the league. So I didn't see enough athleticism with them dudes. So I just didn't.
Yeah, I got you. So Luka Garza right now is, I think he's still playing for the Timberwolves, but he's just a depth piece for a contending team.
Slightly more athletic than Luka Garza, but not enough to where I'm like, oh, this dude might tear the league up.
Yeah, is he a good shooter like Garza? Because Garza got a clip.
Yeah, Danny can shoot.
Okay. I gotta check him out. But if he's like Luka, I mean, if he's like Luka Garza, then I'm good and looking elsewhere. I mean, depth is okay, but I'm still looking to get that Andre Drummond type guy as my third big instead of a guy like Danny Wood. But I'm not mad at it. We'll see. But anything else you got for tonight, bro?
No, I'm good.
All right. So, guys, we appreciate you, man. It's been a great show per usual. We are going to wrap up this episode. We'll see you guys soon. We appreciate you guys' support as always. And we're not disappearing just because the season is over. Don't worry. You're going to see plenty of me this offseason. I'm sure you're going to see King as well. But we're going to keep an eye on the playoffs too. I think, King, we should probably do a playoff prediction episode pretty soon for everybody. I've been seeing a lot of questions about who everybody thinks is going to come out the East and the West. So we can work on that. Anything else you guys want to see from King or I or us together collectively this offseason, put it in the comments and let us know. And we got you on that. And I may or may not personally have some Pistons music coming for you guys this offseason too. So make sure you guys keep a lookout for that. So we will see you guys all soon. And as always, y'all know the drill. Detroit versus everybody.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
All the dirty work, all dog. I'ma dive on the floor, go try to block every shot. And I'ma be physical with you the whole game. You know Stu gonna be physical with you. When you think of the Pistons, you think it's just hard work and just gritty basketball. That's just the identity you gotta have when you put on that jersey.
I'm not your average breed of canine. Not a good dog, I'm bad boy for life. I set the tone, don't care about no tick. Let it be known, I get my respect. Come in the lane and see I don't bluff. If you retaliate, that's on ya. Talking hundreds, I hear you're ashamed. Talking that shop, you must run this way. If the dog palm, mess around, find out, If the dog palm, mess around, find out, For some barbecue sauce, boy, you better cough a hill, cause I'm like that. When you're real for some barbecue sauce, boy, you better cough a hill, cause I'm like that.